What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and in this video we are going to be taking a look at a King Midas game. Now, typically King Midas has not been one of the most powerful heroes in Storybook Brawl, but I think that is trending upwards, and sometimes you are actually able to put together a reasonable board. And that's exactly what we're going to take a look at in this video. So we're going to start by picking up this baby dragon up against the headless horseman, who does indeed decide to kidnap against us. So we could have potentially griefed them by not playing a unit, but I think that our health points are probably more valuable here. And on turn 2, we get to pick up one of the best units for King Midas, at least on turn 2. One of the best tier 2 units for any hero, and that is Cindy. And the reason that Cindy is so good on King Midas is because the only way that King Midas can get treasures is by completing quests. So really happy to pick up this Cindy early, try to grab an early tier 2 treasure with it. There's some really sweet ones that can definitely point you in various directions and actually translate into a win. Before King Midas was able to get treasures, I found it really tough to win with King Midas. I think I only had one win with King Midas when you had to play him treasureless. But now, I since put out a bounty board King Midas game. I think I've had 2 bounty board wins with King Midas, and that's a tier 2 treasure that's just really powerful. This turn is really interesting. I wanted to pause it for a second. Basically, unless you want to pick up one blind mouse and one Fanny, you're only going to be able to pick up one character this turn. You're either going to pick up a 4/4 blind mouse with no treasure or a 4/4 Fanny. So I think in this instance it's actually pretty good to Genie's Wish, because you're only really going to grab one unit anyways, and grabbing the early tier 2 treasure can at least give you some direction on where you're going into the future. There is another really interesting thing with the Genie's Wish though, and that is the fact that we don't have any good units and we don't have any evil units, which means we can't roll Sugar and Spice or Witch's Brew. So it's actually pretty likely that we'll wind up hitting either Forbidden Fruit, Shrink Ray, or Roll the Die, all of which would basically allow us to do the same thing we were going to do anyways this turn, while also ticking down Cindy. I don't wind up using the extra gold here. I think I just forgot about it because I picked up 2 units. It's not going to matter. I don't think that there's anything that we would have locked there on tier 2. What we want to find is those tier 3 questing units now, so that we can start trying to complete some other quests as King Midas. But first, let's complete this Cinderella. We'll roll the die and grab a tier 2 treasure, and none of these are particularly powerful. They're all good. They're all ones that just make us strong right now. So I think I'm going to go for Needle Nose Daggers, just for the fact that it'll pump up the Mummy. We could go for the Dark Contract instead, but I think that we're probably strong enough that we could take the Needle Nose Daggers and get away with it. So that's what I'm going to go for here. Hopefully we can win or at least tie this combat. That is the plan, and we'll see what we can do here. But yeah, we got our first treasure. Now I'm going to be on the lookout for some tier 3 treasures potentially. We didn't really wind up grabbing a great one, all things considered, so I'm not really going to let that define which direction or whatever we go in. We'll see what happens. And unfortunately, this Merlin with double stag, I can already tell, is going to be breaking through our daggers. They also have this upgraded baby root in the back, which is just huge. We're going to take 8 from this Merlin and lose our daggers, unfortunately. Then we find another questing unit though, so that's pretty sweet. We can take Princess White and Lucky. For the most part, I don't really love Princess White anymore. I think that dwarves are kind of underpowered, but when you are playing King Midas, I think that you got to take all of the treasures that you can get, and for that reason, I am specifically not buying this XP, because I want to be able to stay on level 3 and purchase dwarves so that we can grab this tier 3 treasure. So that is the reason for not picking up the XP there as well. And does look like we are going to be facing another loss. My opponent with a rather large unicorn here is going to be able to take us out, and this Pied Piper will hit us for a nice little chunk of damage as well. We can pick up the Good Witch for the support, and then we get to pick up a pair of doublies and give ourselves a triply. It'll be a reasonably large unit. We'll have to sell the Good Witch that we just picked up, but this gives us a 2020 triply, which is pretty good, and can potentially help to get us back in the game just by being a large unit. I'm also going to put this mummy back in, and looking up against my opponent's board, it looks like the only thing that we really have to worry about other than their pair of mummies is the Queen of Hearts in the back. So once we get through their whole front line, we should be able to take out the Queen of Hearts as well, just with the doubly, but we'll be able to take it out with the Fanny instead. And okay, we're getting back into it. We're back into the game. Do have to try to consider where we want to go from here. There is a Nutcracker and a Heartwood Elder, which builds into a tier 4 treasure, and that's going to be pretty hard for me to pass up. I'm also going to sell off 3 of my units to pick up this Blessing of Athena. And Blessing of Athena, pretty decent on the current board. It's giving +3/+3 to the triply, so that's some nice stats. Then it's also giving +1/+1 to the Nutcracker, which is just going to make it slightly more likely that it's able to stay alive and take some hits and get us a tier 4 treasure. And really, just trying to grab any treasures that you can on King Midas is definitely the name of the game. We're going to just try to get as many as we possibly can. Spoiler alert, for one of Sunday's videos, we are able to get all 6 treasures from questing units. So there is a little something to look forward to as well. And we are going to be battling here against the Headless Horseman yet again. And unfortunately, the Nutcracker is just quite not big enough to take down the Ogre Princess even. So this combat works out a little bit awkwardly for us. But if we can take out these ranged units, we're still actually going to be able to come away with a win. So I guess not the worst thing in the world. We didn't really move towards completing any of our treasures, but well, whatever. We could pick up a Fanny there. The spending cash on dwarves for Princess White is so tricky, and we see another Fanny right here, because obviously there is a part of me that wants to go into trees. Trees just being the best comp that you can play right now. So I'm definitely rolling a little bit for potential trees, and then I'll pick up a Queen's Grace, I want to say that spell is called, so that we can try to get some hits onto the Nutcracker. And then I'm going to be locking a Falling Stars, and the big reason for that just being that it will tick down the Nutcracker. It's really not even about the Creeper, it's all about the Nutcracker here, trying to just grab a tier 4 treasure, which can potentially give us some amount of direction. Like, we see that there's a Riverwash Mermaid and a Lightning Dragon. Could that be something that we want to play? Midas does definitely have a lot of options for being able to put together a comp quickly, but the one thing that you can't really count on is those treasures. We're going to be able to grab 2 hits on our Nutcracker here, at least, so that's pretty sweet. Maybe even more with this Black Cat. Yeah, Black Cat is going to give us 1 more treasure, so Nutcracker is super, super close to activating, and will activate when we cast that Falling Stars next turn. So the Queen's Grace, Queen's Blessing, what is it called? Must be called Queen's Blessing. Worked out pretty well for us here. I'm going to pick up this Falling Stars. We could take the Frog Prince or the Lonely Prince just to give us a little bit of a boost, but we're going to find a roll one more time and find a Heartwood Elder. So really hoping to try to play trees in this one if possible. And then we do see that there is also a Greedy in the shop, and we're about to cast a Falling Stars. So I'd really like to pick up this Greedy. I sell 4 things, or 2 things plus a chicken, and now we've got Greedy on the Falling Stars turn, which is going to allow us to just get a little bit more value here from our Falling Stars, as if we weren't already getting enough. We're going to give our opponent some value to activate their Nutcracker, and unfortunately that's all that Greedy does, but doubly is pretty big, and this Nutcracker also pretty large to be able to take this one home. And then do we... Okay, nice. We do end up getting the lucky trigger as well. That was a close one. So moving on, we'll grab a tier 4 treasure here. We could grab Sky Castle, though that does nothing on King Midas. So Fool's Gold, I think it is here. Just 4 extra gold each turn. That's also going to be pretty helpful in terms of allowing us to put together a comp. It might allow us to just have some extra gold to pick up some more dwarves. So that's kind of what I'm going to use this turn to do. We're going to see a bunch of Nyan Sea Terrors on this turn, and there is a Riverwash plus Baba Yaga here. It's worth considering to some extent, but I really want to try to pick up some dwarves. So we'll get to pick up a Greedy up against the Ghost, not too shabby, and then a Fanny, and then I just have to roll and find one more dwarf, and then we can activate this Princess White. So that's the plan. I will pick up the Fanny, just going to bench that for now, roll one more time, and then we see a pair of dwarves. And this is actually an interesting decision. Which of these dwarves do we want to play, especially up against the Ghost? Just taking a look at what some other combinations of units might look like here, and I'm thinking that I might want to take this Greedy. I think that's what I am lining up to take. And I would have liked to take the Fanny if this was a different hero and I could just skip the treasure and grab the Fanny, but unfortunately that's not going to be possible. I am going to be able to... Well, I'm going to be able to think about this treasure selection for another moment, but we also have the possibility to grab a treasure map on King Midas. I think the options were treasure map, sting, and some kind of non-option that I wasn't really considering because I don't even remember it, even though I just saw it. Oh, Power Orb. Yeah, no way. Treasure map is definitely the pickup here, especially with the Lance already in the shop, because that is going to allow us to grab these tier 7 treasure. It's going to allow us to grab a tier 7 treasure, and we'll also get to pick up a burning tree this turn. That's pretty good. We are struggling a little bit for a lack of space for potential units, which is a little bit awkward. And the other thing that is kind of a struggle is we don't have access to spells because we've got Fool's Gold. So that's going to mean that it is a little trickier to actually get this Lance online, but we'll figure out how to do that in the future. I think we'll probably just pair up the Lance with some supporting characters rather than try to do anything too crazy to get that online. And I'm not going to just get it with spells and with the, or not spells rather, slays and the creeper. And yeah, we're definitely not going to be able to get it online with spells because we have no spells, as I'm kind of indicating there. We could put the Lance in instead of the Fanny. Wow, okay, that is actually what I decided to go for. That's a little bit surprising. I would have thought that the Fanny just being stronger for the turn, but maybe I felt like the Greedies were strong enough, and I wanted to start trying to grow Lance. And I mean, that makes sense. So much of what we're trying to do this game hinges on our ability to get a treasure off of Lance, and it works out very well for us, as my opponent has a pair of monster books that gives us a Fireball and a Falling Stars. So that's 4 extra attack on Lance. That is definitely going to add up. Now it's like a Gumble Gore and a Falling Stars away from activating. Kind of makes me want to pick up a monster book to some extent. But we are really on the lookout for trees. I think that that is one of the things that you can do with King Midas. It is a comp that, while it does increase with the power of some spells, or treasures rather, the trees comp doesn't really need treasures and can just scale innately on itself. You see, I'm very strongly considering picking up a Grim Soul to grow Lance. I do think that that could be a good avenue as well. And a little surprised that I don't go for it, because we don't have too many avenues to grow this Lance. But one thing that we can do is pick up a Sporko. That will help us get some stats on the Lance while also being a reasonable unit to work with the Burning Tree. So there's some definite ways that we can make this work by putting the Sporko in here. Now the Lance has like 18, and if it's able to just slay and take a few more hits with the Creeper, then it will actually grow pretty fast. So looks like that is going to just be the way that we get this Lancelot and grab this tier 7 treasure. It's just so important that I'm basically focusing my whole game plan around it because there's no other ways to gain any types of treasures. So we will get a Slay. That'll put Lancelot up to 20. And you can see the power of this Burning Tree here on King Midas as well. We are going to be taking some damage from this Horde Dragon. This Horde Dragon is quite strong right now, but we were able to soak up at least a little bit of that damage from the Burning Tree and stay at 2. So things are getting a little bit scary, but we get to play up against the Ghost, which is wonderful. And the main thing that I am looking for there, as I just indicated, was another Sporko, because that is going to give Lance, that'll immediately upgrade the Sporko and give Lance +5 attack. So that is the main thing I'm looking for, though Gumblegore will do the same thing. Gumblegore will change it from a +4 to a +5. I'm just double checking my math, and that will give us a tier 7 treasure this turn. We are up against the Ghost, so hopefully the Nutcracker is enough. I'm like debating playing these Greedies too against the Ghost, and it's all a matter of how much you think you can get away with a lot of times in Storybook Brawl. And being that we are at 2 health, even though we are up against the Ghost, I don't think I can get away with playing any Greedies. I do want to keep the Creeper in because those are actually scaling the Burning Trees, but the plan here is to grab a tier 7 treasure. I mean, it's probably the title and thumbnail to this video, so not a huge deal, but you can see this opponent is quite strong, and it is really going to be the Nutcracker and this Burning Tree that allow us to hang on. So I'm very glad that I played the Nutcracker instead of those Greedies, and it does look like we will be able to escape with a win, but it's just barely a win, really. We are going to be grabbing our tier 7 treasure this turn, and Round Table is a pretty easy pickup. We do slightly want to consider the Magic Sword because that'll give +100, +200 to the Burning Tree, but I think we can do it. I think we can get there with Round Table. Round Table still gives a whole bunch of stats to the Burning Tree, and then we find a pair of Echo Woods. It's not going to be a pair of Echo Woods for long. It's going to be one upgraded Echo Wood, but definitely worth the gold to pick up here. And now you'll also see I'm just trying to play my strongest board. I'm putting both of the Burning Trees on the Gumblegore, so that way they are both going to receive that +10 attack, which is going to result in +10 and +20 health, which then goes back into the attack and makes it so that the Echo Wood is also gaining a bunch of health as well, or a bunch of attack, I suppose. And a bunch of health, because when they gain attack, they also gain health. Round Table is just really, really busted with Burning Tree. They never quite wind up rounding out. Oh, looks like I'm going to deviate from that a little bit because I think I'm powerful enough. That is the estimation here. I think that I'm strong enough for this turn with the Echo Wood pickup. No, I don't. Okay, so that's the consideration there, and that's kind of what I'm just weighing in my mind. Am I strong enough that I can get away with additional scaling from the Heartwood Elder, or do I want to just play what I think will be strongest for this turn? And I'm going to go for a little bit stronger on this turn with this one. And we don't know what's in the crock, so it could have definitely been a worthy use of our time. Though with the Darkwood Creeper, the Echo Wood, the Burning Trees, we're just grabbing so much stats on this one that it does seem like we are pretty safe. And we take out their Bearstein before popping their pigs. This is going to be an easy victory here, and I believe it should also be a kill onto the, yeah, it will be a kill onto the Pied Piper. So things are going pretty good with just that round table, and now we might even be in the finals. Yes, we are. This Merlin just took out the Zelhua. So it's finals time, and we find an Ashwood Elm immediately just to make our board even stronger. So this is really, really fantastic for us. Now we are just growing at an incredible rate. We're still looking to play either another Ashwood, Burning Tree, or Echo Wood. If we can find one within the next few rolls, we'll slot that onto our team here. But honestly, just the round table is going to be enough to get it done. And it looks like that is going to be the end of what we're able to add to this board. But honestly, pretty fantastic. We got pretty lucky. Our opponent is going to Pigomorph 2 of our units because they've got Forking Rod plus Hat, and then they got the Aeon trigger to make Pigo only cost 2. But we still have this absolutely massive Echo Wood, so it comes down to this scam, and they're going to get a Blessing of Athena. That's not going to be enough. That does mean that we are going to be able to walk away from this one with a win eventually after we get through this large Spellweaver in my opponent's first position. But our Echo Wood is just way too big for them to deal with, and that is going to be enough to get us the win with King Midas with that round table. So pretty sweet stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. That's going to be it for me today. New Storybook Brawl videos every day at 9 p.m. EST. Thank you very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.